Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to this memorial gathering, which we gather here to come to honor and celebrate the life of Ken White. I'm Christopher New, and I welcome you to Southminster Steinhauer United Church. It's a place where we say that we come to be spiritual seekers united in community. A place Ken called a spiritual home and a place of connection. As a community, we show respect and gratitude first and foremost that we gather here on Treaty 6 land, honoring the traditions, land, and peoples of this place. And we're all welcome here. We gather here as an affirming community where all ages, sizes, all colors and cultures, all genders and sexualities, all traditions and religions, or none, are welcome. So I do welcome you to this space today and to those that join us online as well. Welcome to you. You are part of this community and this circle today as we celebrate Ken's life. We come holding some threads for each other, threads that hold our emotions, our grief, our sadness, our joy, our anger, our hope, all of our human emotions. And as we each hold a piece of that thread for each other in this time that we have together, we're met with something sacred. The wonder of life, the mystery of its unfolding, the rhythms of light and dark, the circle of seasons, the passage from birth to death, and our hope that light continues to shine. So as we come here today to hear memories of Ken, born in Kipling, Saskatchewan, growing up on a farm and then in Regina, we'll honor all of the loves of his life. A few maybe we've forgotten about, a few we have yet to learn, and some that defined who Ken was. A sports fan, an accountant, a civil servant, a lover of music, of reading, of a good chat and a good laugh. Today we will honor this man, a loving brother, a caring husband, father, grandfather, uncle, a generous and kind friend. So as we honor and celebrate the gift of Ken's life, we'll take time together today to find comfort in our memories, express and share our gratitude, and to learn the legacy of his life and lean into the strength of who we are together. It's in this spirit of life and light that we light a candle, another candle among us today. As this light shines among us and its essence moves between us and around us, we know that although death has come, the light of Ken's spirit has not been extinguished. It ignites in us, it warms us, it lives on in us and among us, and in the mystery of life that moves beyond us all. So let's feel the warmth of this circle, in sorrow and in comfort, and know that we are held together by our love and support for one another today. I invite us to share these words together as a way to help center our attention and focus our intention for our time together today. You're welcome to read along or to speak aloud these words with me as our gathering intentions. They are before you on the screen. In the ever-creating love and energy in which we live and die, we celebrate the gift of life and honor the mystery of death. We come with hearts broken open by love and loss into this community of grief and gratitude. As we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, may we move through sorrow toward celebration, Together may we find the courage to mourn and to celebrate, to laugh and to cry, to be alone with our thoughts and lean into the community of care we create with each other. May we trust the circle of life as we are held in the truth that death does not have the last word, because love is what lasts forever. Amen. If you're able, I'll invite you to stand.
For those of you that knew my uncle, you would know that he loved books, particularly the How To for Dummies series. So fortunately, I was able to order this, How to Write Eulogies for Dummies. This, in all kidding aside, this is a book I found today in Ken's room, and he's highlighted everything. I wanted to share one. I shall leave this life when I am summoned out of it, with the satisfaction of knowing that I have not lived in vain. Welcome, gathered friends and family, to those of you who have joined us in person, and a special hello to those of you who are joining us online, which includes my 99, almost 100-year-old grandpa, Mel, who's Ken's father, my Uncle Doug, Ken's younger brother, other family, and many friends who could not make it here in person. My name is Sherry Belitho, and Ken was my uncle. It is a great honor to be asked to speak here today, and I hope that my words will pay tribute to a wonderful man who, in addition to being a lifelong scholar, will forever be remembered as a loyal friend, devoted son, caring brother, loving stepfather, and playful Opa. I want to start today by saying that these words that I'll speak are not mine, but many of Ken's friends and family have shared with me heartfelt moments and memories. Thank you to those of you who entrusted me with your words, stories, and memories. I hope that my compilation of these will help capture the amazing life that Ken lived, from inquisitive little boy into an amazing man who never lost the wonder of learning new things. Ken was the firstborn son to Melvin and Ethel, was born on a farm near Kipling, Saskatchewan, and on that farm he lived with Mel's parents. My grandpa said Ken was a peaceful boy who almost always had his nose in a book. Apart from some childish fun, which I'm sure was mostly encouraged by my rebellious father, Ken was the perfect child. From a young age, Ken was able to make friends easily. At just 3 or 4, his dad remembers the first friend young Ken made. The two of them would play for hours, and Ken would recount the adventures the two of them would go on. Ken and his invisible friend Jackie were inseparable. While mostly true he wasn't one to stir up much trouble, my grandpa recounted a time when sweet little Ken would play innocently with a ball in the street, kicking up dirt. One particular time, while visiting with his Uncle Alec, who was quite a religious man with no children of his own, his Uncle Alec told him to cut out his childish behavior. Politely, of course, my uncle responded by bouncing the ball even harder and adding some colorful, not so age-appropriate language to his game. Maybe the first glimpse of how witty he would grow up to be. At the age of 4, Ken was promoted to the role of Big Brother when Gary was born. And shortly after, the little family moved to Regina, to be known as the Whites on Gray Street. It is here that Ken started school and made his first real friend, Dave, in grade 1. Dave and Ken were inseparable all through grade school. And though they attended rival high schools, the two met back up in university and had a strong friendship that lasted a lifetime. Ken was close with his parents and grandparents and cousins, but he shined as a brother. The two young boys would play all sorts of sports together: catch in the backyard, crokinole or ping pong. When the Saskatchewan winters hit, Ken would also play shinny in the back alley with friends. Does anybody remember the crooked fence in the yard of that house? I'm sure that's what caused it. In the cold of winter, the brothers invented some sort of sock football game, I've heard. The two of them thought it would be wise to keep score in this game on the family's brand new knotty pine wall by etching in the scores. I do not think this was appreciated by their father. Eventually, the brotherly duo was added to, and brother Doug was born. Ken was nearly an adult at this point, studying hard, and as a rule of thumb, when Ken was studying, the music would be on, and it would be loud. Ken loved music, vinyls in particular. As a rite of passage, my grandfather would yell at him to turn that crap down. And my grandmother perfected the two-tap stomp to get Ken to shut it down and come up for dinner. With a 17-year age gap between him and Doug, Doug was quite young when Ken moved away at 22, but he definitely made an impression. Doug is the person I know who has the biggest love of music and collecting music, and he credits that passion to an admiration he had for his big brother. Ken may have loved music, but he did not love water. His fear of water was deep. No pun intended there. And lifelong. I'm sure his fear was not helped when his younger brother tried to teach him to float. Gary took to sports like fish to water and insisted at 9 or 10 that Ken could love swimming too, while holidaying at a motel pool in Edmonton. Well, it didn't go quite as well as Gary thought it was when he let go of him before the count of 3, and Ken nearly sunk like a rock. He was never too excited to be around water after that, and when Ken and Gary had a flood in their Edmonton apartment just a few years ago, I'm sure all of those fears resurfaced for him. Ken's love of learning extended into adulthood. After high school at Martin Collegiate, Ken went on to study at U of R. University did not initially come as easy to Ken as the rest of schooling had, and after 2 years, he came to his parents considering throwing in the towel. Grandpa must have offered some pretty good words of advice in their long heart-to-heart, because Ken went on to finish university in 1972 and never stopped learning, completing his CGA in 2003 and earning his CPA status in 2015. In fact, I believe that my Uncle Ken may have been the first ever of the user of the Amazon online bookstore in Canada. I remember how excited he was to share his latest book that he had ordered when we would visit, and he always had stacks of Amazon boxes in the corner. Until his eyesight deteriorated in the last few years, one of his greatest pleasures was reading and learning. In university, Ken and Dave befriended a chap by the name of Miles. When Ken makes friends, he makes friends for life. Miles recounted humorous tales of their adventures together. A time when he and Ken were walking between classes, and this gorgeous petite blonde, as Miles put it, was walking ahead of them. She was walking with a strapping young man, and she dropped a pen, accidentally, of course. Ken and Miles, like bullets, both dove for the pen to pick it up and hand it to her. They bumped heads. The couple turned around in surprise, and the boyfriend gave a very dirty look. And there were many laughing people standing by. Another time, still in university, Miles and Ken went shopping on a Saturday morning. While walking through Walmart, they noticed a couple of very pretty ladies. Both Ken and Miles glanced back to see if the girls had noticed them. Miles, walking through the exit, Ken, smack into a glass wall. Ken got a big bump on his head and bent his glasses, and many bystanders found that funny too. Leaving his teenage tendencies and university time behind, Ken began working for the Federated Co-op. His first job was supervising 30-plus people, which I'm sure could only have been described as intimidating. Ken was able to gain their respect and excel in his work, which of course should surprise none of us, as he gave his best to everything he did. After just 15 months on the job, he was offered a promotion and a transfer to Lethbridge, thus beginning the adventure of a lifetime. Everyone who contributed to my musings today recount Ken's time in Lethbridge as being the best times of his life. It is in Lethbridge that Ken met the love of his life. Ken arrived in Lethbridge for work, and Rick, Ken's now stepson, recalls that Ken was needing a place to stay. And through a mutual friend of his mom, Ken was offered room and board. At that time, he was in his mid-20s and looking to advance his career, but what he ended up with was a family. Elfriede with her children, Ramona, then 11, Rick, then 13, and Ken. This was undoubtedly an unnerving time for everyone, moving in with teenagers, and ultimately falling head over heels in love with their mother. Must have been quite the adventure. Ramona recounts those years with fondness, recalling Ken's patience, open-mindedness, support, and guidance. He gently shared his family values with them, and Ken and a woman who I fondly remember as Auntie Louise were married in Regina in 1978. Ramona remembers special years and how wonderful it was to learn to drive in Ken's extremely cool Mustang. Rick fondly remembers how Ken would lounge in the house, singing music in just his underwear, golf shirt, and black socks. Another common thread in everybody's contributions was Ken's devotion to family. He would work to create opportunities for people to gather together, from initiating visits to planning family reunions. He never lost touch with cousins or friends. If there was someone who needed help, he would be there in a heartbeat. And my dad will forever be grateful for the way Ken took him under his wing and shared his home 16 years ago. Far and away, family was the most important thing to him. He was so proud of his stepchildren, Rick and Ramona. He was over the moon in love with his grandchildren, Dixon, Amy, and Ross, as well as his extended family. I know how much he would light up hearing the accomplishments of children. Although it may not seem obvious, with his vision obstacles faced in life, Ken was also a gifted athlete. He may have even won the White Family Dairy Queen Ping Pong Cup once or maybe twice. Facts are a little muddled there. Ken would take up any activity to spend time with those that he cared about. Golf with his dad and Uncle Lorne, racquetball with friends, football with his brothers. Dixon gratefully credits his love of basketball to his Opa. Early on in life, the only sport that ever mattered to Dixon was hockey. I think that's probably still true. However, anytime Opa and Oma came for a visit, the conversation would eventually lead towards basketball. Young Dixon may not have had any clue what Ken was describing, but he was a patient teacher. Dixon's Opa was the only person who could reach the adjustable rim while standing, and therefore Dixon was convinced he was Shaquille O'Neal. In their time together bonding over basketball, Dixon learned how teamwork, leadership, and effective communications were important principles in basketball, but also in life. Dixon also recalled how his Opa used to call him his nudie boy, which I'm pretty sure that means that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. As you'll remember, Ken's loungewear from a moment ago didn't actually include pants. I'm sure he wore that to vacuum the house, too. Ken loved Louise with his whole heart and was by her side through illness and was left heartbroken when she passed away in 2003. It was the support of his dear friend Doug that helped Ken find joy in ordinary things again. Ken made it a point to stay close to his chosen family, bonding together through their grief over a cup of tea, one of Ken's favorite afternoon pastimes. Over the last 20 years, Ken has loved his visits to Lethbridge. Rick described Ken as his rock, always offering a supportive ear and gentle encouragement to everyone. My Uncle Ken was a self-described introvert, which I found interesting, who struggled with anxiety for most of his life. But he really shined at being present and engaged in conversations with those he loved. He was genuinely interested in what you were interested in. When his brother Doug would visit in Lethbridge, the pair would talk about music for hours, sharing stories and listening to records. When hanging out with Gary, the two would watch old movies or live sports for hours, even bonding over, I'm sure, what felt like being the only two Flames fans in all of Edmonton. Go Flames! With his friends and family, he could reminisce about the good times for hours, often to the point of laughing so hard tears would well up. If you wanted to talk politics, the state of the world, music, books, religion, work, or sports, Ken was there for all of it. He had an unbelievable memory and could recount numbers and facts remarkably well. Miles said it well when he said, "I really don't think Ken knew how well liked he was." Ken had a truly special way of making everyone around him feel heard, valued, and important. I remember he was always willing to answer silly tax questions and had a unique knack for inserting just the right dad joke into every conversation. Did you know there's a variant on the dad joke? It's called an uncle joke. Since Ken was my uncle, I'll share it here. The punchline may not be apparent, but at least it's all grown up. His gift for listening and offering insight will be dearly missed. Ken would end each conversation with a "have a nice day" or a "take care," and he really meant it. His gift for listening and offer insight will be dearly missed by all of us. Ken had many successes in his working years that resulted in them moving from Lethbridge to Calgary and eventually to Edmonton, where Ken's career ended when he retired from a position at the at Government of Alberta 10 years ago. After retirement, Ken continued to find new ways to learn and connect with others, Toastmasters filled his schedule with new friends and personal challenges. I recall how difficult it was in the beginning for him to speak in front of people. At this point in my career, I was speaking in front of people often, and Ken always had the softest way of giving helpful tips. Talk slower, Sherry. I know. I'm still not very good at that, and if anyone would like a transcript of this, I can email it to them. Through Toastmasters, Ken accomplished so much. From Speech of the Year to title of area governor, he was always pushing himself to know and learn more. If he was nervous, no one could tell. He even took on leadership as the Vice President of Education. His evaluations for the young leaders were positive, insightful, and encouraging. Ken befriended many people through Toastmasters. One of them, Karen, recalls Ken as a gifted teacher. He just had a knack for honing in on one or two things that would take a presentation to the next level. Accepting his feedback was never difficult because he always approached the task with humility and compassion. While Ken's dreams of retiring in Vancouver Island, Kelowna, or Lethbridge never materialized, he found fulfillment in many other ways. In addition to spending time with family and time at Toastmasters, self-taught guitar ballads and phrases like "Que es aprende español" filled Ken and Gary's apartment for many years. Ken lived a giving life. He gave more love than we could ever quantify. He was patient, compassionate, caring, and brilliant. Life changed for all of us when the pandemic hit, especially for Ken. Anxiety and depression, combined with failing health, made the last several years of his life very difficult. With weakening eyesight, joining online meetings or groups was near impossible. Audiobooks just couldn't fill the void of paper books in a reader's life. He did his best with FaceTime check-ins, even gifting his 97-year-old father an iPad so they could keep in touch. And a slow and excruciating recovery from a broken hip left Ken in constant pain. Ken loved his family and my grandma's butter tarts very much. A slice of pizza and a good movie may only be secondary to an ice cream cone with someone he loved. Ken's life ended too soon, and none of us will ever understand the extreme pain he was in. Ken gave all he could to each of us, and I know I speak for all of us when I say we are better people for having him as a friend, brother, teacher, Opa, and son. Ken, know that you never did and never could disappoint any of us. Your love and lessons for living will forever be in our hearts and lives. While we may not aspire to know every Alan Jackson lyric, the name of the 1967 Grey Cup winning quarterback, or even just one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, we will remember you and the love you shared with us. Your song ended too soon for us, but the melody lingers on. Karen shared with me in her notes an African proverb that goes like this: when an elder dies, the library burns to the ground. The contributor goes on to explain that books on shelves do not tell stories. We have to open them and read them. Usually it is not until we're older that we appreciate the wisdom from the libraries of those who came before us. Rest well, dear uncle. May you forever be in peace.
on behalf of all of us, thank you, Sherry, for those memories and thoughts and wisdom you've shared. Some wisdom from the Christian tradition now. From the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6. Jesus said, "Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who are against you. If anyone takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Many people love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Many lend to each other to receive as much again. But instead, love everyone, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return." In these ancient words, may we find wisdom for our living. And because words are never enough, pictures are a way into our memories, as is music, as Ken would know well. And so a few songs that Ken would appreciate, along with a few pictures that will help us in our memories, in our tears, and in our laughter.
The older I get, the more I think you only get a minute. Better live while you're in it, 'cause it's gone in a blink. And the older I get, the truer it is. It's the people you love, not the money and stuff that makes you rich. And if they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink a drop, and that's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get, the fewer friends I have. But you don't need a lot, and the ones that you got have always got your back. And the older I get, the better I am in knowing when to give and when to just not give a damn. And if they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink a drop, and that's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get. Souvenirs and little signs of the life I've lived. The older I get, the longer I pray. don't know why. I guess that I've got more to say. And the older I get, the more thankful I feel for the life I've had and all the life I'm living still.
Say goodbye to all your pain and sorrow. Say goodbye to all those lonely nights. Say goodbye to all your blue tomorrows. Now you're standing in the light. I know sometimes you feel so helpless. Sometimes you feel like you can't win. Sometimes you feel so isolated. You'll never have to feel that way again. You are not alone. You're not alone. Never thought I'd find the road to freedom. Never thought I'd see you smile again. Never thought I'd have the chance to tell you that I will always be your friend. You are not alone. You're not alone.
I wanted you for life, you and me in the wind. I never thought there'd come a time that our story would end. It's hard to understand, but I guess I'll have to try. It's not easy to say goodbye. For all the joy we shared, all that time we had to spend. If I had one wish, I'd want forever back again. To look into your eyes and hold you when you cry. It's not easy to say goodbye. I remember all those great times we had. So many memories, some good, some bad. Yes, and through it all, those memories will last forever. There's peace in where you are. Maybe all I need to know. And if I listen to my heart, I'll hear your laughter once more. And so I have to say, I'm just glad you came my way. It's not easy to say goodbye.
It really can be said that the measure of a life is not in what you have, but in what you give away. In many ways, our whole life is an exercise in giving ourselves away bit by bit. As children, we're taught to share because it's the right thing to do. But the older we grow and the more experience that we gain, we discover that what we feel passionate about, when we want to do something about something, we learn that we can make decisions about our commitments of time and energy and money that we give to things and the people that are important to us, not because we should, but because we choose to. Knowing we can make a difference to our communities, to our families, to even one person in the ways that we give ourselves away. The wisdom that I read a moment ago that said, if you love those who love you back, what credit is that to you? Anyone can do that. Instead, live, lend, give generously. These are wise words for a well-lived life, and I wonder if Ken's life might teach us a little bit about living with this principle at the core. To have given himself to the world of ideas and learning. So many stories shared of listening, throwing around ideas, new thoughts. To have given himself to Louise and her children, welcoming them into his life and they into his. To have given himself to meeting challenges head on. I mean, conquering his anxiety by joining Toastmasters. That takes some courage. To have in his retirement taken up a new language and the guitar, one of which sits here at the table. To have given himself as a committed friend to all who needed his time, his ear, his advice, his generosity, his humorous spirit. But there's more to the golden rule than just be nice. Ken expressed his care not so much in words as in actions, in what he could do to help. And as we attempt, all of us, to live by that golden rule, to do to others as we would have them do to us, we recognize the give and take and the mutuality of our relationships. The spirit of love and life comes to us at the times when we open ourselves to receive it. It's in those moments we're inspired to go above and beyond, to do kind things, to be generous, to be courageous. I think we all recognize those moments within us when we feel we want to do more, that we can, because of what we have or where we're at, we can help. But we can just as easily shut that same love and force of life out by closing ourselves off from it. In the face of difficulty, in the challenging moments and the seasons of our lives that are not as free and easy, in those times it's easy to just say, no, I can't, I won't. To a generosity, to a hospitality, in fear of more pain or rejection or a host of other fears that we feel. This is why the golden rule is so challenging. Because to do to others how we would have them do to us requires that not just when we feel like it, but as a core of our being. So we're right to acknowledge at a time like this that Ken's life wasn't all beautiful views, fun times, and easygoing. None of our lives are. There were challenges, there were losses. Of course there are. And in those very times that are difficult, if we're able to receive back what we've invested in love, in time, in doing good to those around us, as we've lived, we will receive. We learn from the depth of this wisdom that goodness, doing right, living well, giving what you have, these all come back to us as gifts returning home. In Ken's willingness to be that listening ear, that support, that faithful friend, that person who would help you at the drop of a hat, the one who was ultimately curious and eager to learn and help, those are gifts that we learn and carry on in his honor. These are part of who Ken was, not when he felt like it, but always. So we might remember Ken best not just with these stories and these memories of him, but also by embodying what was valuable and important to him. To become the golden rule. To live generously. And in so doing, continuing to live this legacy. Open to the spirit of giving without thought to expecting anything in return. May we live a legacy of giving ourselves away at every opportunity. And you know what happens when we give love away? It returns to us more and more and more so. We are so grateful that Ken knew this, that in giving his love, he would also feel it and receive it from everyone who knew him. In our actions, in our loving kindness, may we remember Ken always. So may it be so for us in so many ways. And now we pause to speak and feel the significance of this life we honor. We offer our prayers of gratitude. We come to this day knowing our connection to life. The earth is our cradle, the stars and sky our blanket, the creatures of land and sea and air our siblings. As we affirm sacred presence in all things and all people, we center ourselves in this presence, embracing our joy for Ken's life, his gifts, and his very being. So with full hearts, we share gratitude for Ken's curiosity, love of learning and reading, and conversation. For the love he shared in his role as son, brother, uncle, stepfather, grandfather, and friend. For his love of sports and a broad knowledge of things we can't fathom. For his gentle guidance, his generous spirit, the calm that he provided for others. For the way he showed his love in his actions and helping spirit. For his contributions to this spiritual community, volunteering on setup teams, his presence at social events, his kind smile. For who he was and how he lived, and for all that made him unforgettable in the hearts and minds of all who knew him, we are filled with gratitude. May our prayers be expressions of care for his family, for his father Melvin, for his brother Gary and brother Doug, for Rick and Jerry, Ramona and Roy, and his grandchildren, Dixon, Amy, Ross, for his extended family and friends and all who have been touched by his life and are now grieved by his death. We celebrate the miracle of life with gratitude, with humility, for the chance to live, to love, and be loved. May the hope that we find in life, in this community, in the faith that we hold, encourage us in the work of our grief. And may the peace that passes all understanding find home in us and through us. May it be so. Amen. On behalf of Ken's family, we'd like to invite you to stay for a reception immediately following our time here together. We will share food and refreshments and stories of our connection with each other. I'll simply invite us to move through the foyer and then turn left, and we'll find another hall there where tables and chairs are set and ready for us to take our place and make ourselves at home. So you're welcome. So I invite us now to share these closing words together in our circle with one another. I will speak the white words on your screen, and if you would respond with the words in yellow. All our laughter, all our sadness, safe now in the undying light of love. All our stories, all our memories, safe now in the undying light of love. The one we remember, the ones we love, safe now in the undying light of love. And so as our time comes to a close, we will seek to find new ways for Ken's light to live in us, to shine through us, and to be present in this world. we will experience the light of Ken's life and legacy. And as we continue to grieve, may we recognize that light remains around us, within us, and beyond us all. And so we can go in peace, in the presence of light and love, in the presence of our connection with each other, and in the presence of all that is sacred in and around us. That peace is ours always. Amen.